So I got inspired by Do Dash. If you haven't checked her out, check it out. I've been inspired by her rapid growth on YouTube in a short period of time. And I just got so inspired by everything, her channel, what she stands for, and just her consistency. Now, I love how she comes on YouTube and is just herself, regardless of how some may perceive it. And that she proves that being yourself is the only thing you need to be able to find your community. And for a very long time, I've been wanting to be a full-time content creator. I felt the Lord calling me to it, and no matter what kind of job offer I tried, no matter what kind of vacancy I applied for, regardless of the fact that I had the qualifications, I was constantly denied the spot. And so it led to a lot of frustration because I've been unemployed for the last, I'd say, 4 years or so. And it's been very tough just working on one salary because my husband does have a job, but the income isn't what we need to really sustain and have the type of life we want, to be able to actually live and to give back and to be able to provide for our children the way we should and for ourselves. For a very long time, I've just been, so inactive in any sense of the word, and I've just not had a life. I would just not want to wake up in the morning. I would just be so depressed. I had nothing to look forward to. I had children that I had to take care of, but even that felt like a burden when I couldn't even take care of myself. It's like somebody was always needing me when I needed me, and I couldn't give me, but I had to give them me because I just had to. They're my kids. I have to provide for them. I have to give them what they need emotionally, spiritually, etc. And so I had to show up for them even when I couldn't even show up for myself. Well, so for a long time, ever since I was young, I had this dream about being a content creator. I didn't know what a content creator was then, but whatever it is that content creators do now, that is actually what I had envisioned doing, just not on YouTube. I just didn't know how it was going to come to pass, but I just had this vision to always have to speak to people, encourage people. My niche would be something concerning children, child guidance, and anything relating to bringing up your kids in a godly fashion. Even when I was still a kid, this was something that I was so passionate about, and I just dreamt about doing this. And I had this little notebook, and I would write all my dreams and my aspirations in it, and just be like, okay, I'm gonna do this when I grow up, and I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna write books. I'm gonna be an author. I'm gonna do this and that. And so I'm gonna have a cooking channel. I had all these dreams. I would watch Oprah, and I was like, yeah, I want something like this, a talk show to just come on and talk to people and inspire them and deal with issues and just help people to understand what God expects of us, and that there's total freedom and, love when you're in God and in Christ. And so this was my dream. But for so many years of just being inactive, not being in school anymore, I did a bachelor's in behavioral science, and then I stopped. I got married. I got pregnant off the bat, and everything just went from that point. I was pregnant. I was sick. I just went in mom mood, and I just forgot who I was as a person. My identity crisis lasted so long. My postpartum depression lasted so long. That's like I just couldn't catch myself after that. And no matter how I would try to do little things like, okay, I'm going to start eating right, I would only do it for a short amount of time. And then I would say, I'm going to exercise, and I would only do it for a short amount of time because it always felt like results were not coming in quick enough. And I'm not seeing anything, and I'm just so depressed. I'm just not feeling like it. And I would just always do these things for a short amount of time and then be so discouraged when it didn't work and just stop. And so eventually I realized that this is not a life I want. But I was so stuck in this rabbit hole and in this vicious cycle. I didn't have a job. I would apply. I would get declined. I would get denied the position, even though I had the qualifications. And then I would try a little side hustle here and there, and it would flop. And I would be discouraged because sometimes we would have spent money that we don't really have. It wasn't really available money. It's money you just kind of take from other things that you need in order to start a little side hustle or something, and then it would flop every time, and you would just be more discouraged because you would have just lost more money and just not have gotten anywhere with your life. And so every time I would just start to speak so negatively to myself and be like, it's never gonna work out. It's best if you just, end your life. It just, nothing makes sense anymore. You're not even of value to your children. You're not of value in your home. Nobody can really use you for anything. You can't even bring in money. You can't even do this. You can't even do that. You're not even a good mom. You're always tired. You're always so overstimulated. You're always screaming. You're always hitting. You're always doing things that you vowed never to do and that you know are wrong. But you're always so overstimulated and doing them over and over and over again. And so I just reached a point where it was like, I don't want this anymore. And I spoke to God, and God told me, it's not the kids, it's not your husband, it's you. It's not that they don't have issues, but it's you. It's you. It's because inside of you is just so disconnected from the source, which is God. And so that's why I started Return to Love. But even on Return to Love, on this journey on YouTube, it was so discouraging. You post a video, nobody really watches. You get like 10 views, 20 views, sometimes 30 views. And so then I would get so discouraged by the lack of progress that I would just take 6-month breaks, 4-month breaks. I was so inconsistent, and then after a couple of months I would be like, no, I have to make it work. I don't have any other job. And I would come back and I would try, because it wasn't also just about a job for me. This is something I'm passionate about. Speaking to people, encouraging people is something I'm passionate about. Every time I posted a video, I felt so good about it. I felt like, yeah, I'm so happy I did that. I'm just so happy. Anytime in my free time, when I'm getting the opportunity to speak to friends, I'm always trying to encourage them, or somebody who has an issue and comes to me. And when I'm finished talking to them, I'm like, this is what I love. This is what I love to do. This is what I live for. This is what I love to do. But anytime it came to YouTube, I was so scared to just post, because the YouTubers I watch have a good camera and they look good. They're not 30 kilos overweight. They don't have the same clothes on in every single episode. They have a pretty backdrop, and they have a nice, everything looks so aesthetic, and if that's even a word, and everything just looks so good, and everything of me just does not look so good. And my phone broke, and now I'm using somebody's phone to even record this video, okay? And so it felt like it wasn't good enough. That's literally it. It just felt like I wasn't good enough. Nothing was good enough. My equipment isn't good enough. The way my videos were edited wasn't good enough. I always felt like everybody's video was better than mine, and that's why nobody's watching my videos. But then I started watching Dash, and I don't even know how that happened, but it must have been God. And I watched her first video, and I was like, this is interesting. I like her flow, She's so natural, and everything is just flowing very naturally. And so I kept watching, and I find myself watching every time she drops a video. I'm watching it and laughing, and I just have it on while doing something. And eventually I had to ask myself, what is it that you like so much about her videos? And I realized it's just her content. It's not about her backdrop. It's not about what she's wearing. I could care less. It's not about how she did her hair. It's literally about her content. I just like who she is. I like how she presents her content. And then she keeps talking about how that's what you're supposed to do. Just come on here and be yourself, and post and be consistent and be yourself. And I'm like, no, because nobody likes that. Nobody wants to see myself, I wanted to post so often. There were so many video ideas that God consistently gave me. So many different mini series to do, and all these kinds of things to try. And every time it was about, but before I even get my hair done, and if I get my hair done, then it's what I'm gonna wear. And I'm standing and I'm looking at the 3 t-shirts I have, and I'm like, no, it's embarrassing. I don't want to wear these again. They don't even look nice. And then I would just not post. And time passes, and a year passes, and 2 years. I don't know if it's already 3 years that I'm on this channel, and I still don't even have 1,000 subscribers. I can't even get monetized. And again, it's not just about that for me, although I don't have a job. But it just comes to show how inconsistent I was. And the more I think about it, and the more I feel like, I've tried everything else. I've tried to make a living. I tried to do side hustles. But God keeps drawing me to YouTube. And I started to realize that at the end of the day, when God has placed something within you, He just wants you to obey Him. He knew I didn't have good equipment. When he asked me to do this, he knew I didn't have a good phone. He knew I didn't have money to buy a better phone. He knew I didn't have money to buy a camera. He knew I didn't have money to buy a microphone to be heard properly. He knew it was very exhausting for me to always figure out backdrops because I live in a very, very small apartment, and I have 2 kids and everything is so cramped up, and then it's just a lot. It's very difficult to leave things in a particular way for it to look so nice and everything. And so it was very hard to always set up everything for it to look as though you have things nicely and put together in order for viewers to like your content. And so I just had to tell myself, God knew. God knew I had a baby and that I barely sleep at night. God knew that my diet is so poor that I don't have the nutrition in my body to actually fuel the energy that I need to pull me through to do these things. God knew. And he still said, do it. He still said, do it. He still called me. He still said, do it now, do it now, do it now. And I kept pushing it back and pushing it back. And every year I felt guiltier and heavier, and I felt more depressed because it felt like I was just living without a purpose. I was living without doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm just on here. I don't know. Every time I see somebody doing what I feel God called me to do, I felt angry and hurt, and I'm like, I'm supposed to be doing that, but you're not doing it though. I wasn't doing it, and so God is calling other people to start doing what he called me to do, and so it just hurts when you see it and you're like, oh, I wish I had heeded the call. I wish I had done it. I wish it was me who was actually fulfilling my purpose and feeling fulfilled and seeing the blessings of the Lord come to fulfillment. And right now I'm just in a car and I'm using my sister's phone because the one I'm using now, the quality is so bad that I literally couldn't record with it. And it's hard. It's making it harder because when she's not home, you can't film, you can't do stuff. But just as DoorDash has encouraged, and just as God has actually called me to do, it's not just about DoorDash. I just really thank her for showing that it's possible to be yourself and still succeed. But it's really about God and the fact that when God asks you to do something, it's actually not a friendly suggestion. You actually have to do it. You actually have to obey. I find myself often telling my daughter, when I tell you to do something, you have to do it. You don't have the choice to not do it. But we act with God as though we have the choice to not do it. They say you have to start a YouTube channel and you have to talk about X, Y, and Z. Oh, but I can't. I'm so tired. Oh, I can't because I don't look good. Oh, I can't because I'm fat and how to come on here and talk about temperance. Oh, I can't because X, Y, and Z reason. And it's like, the same way I look at my child and say, I didn't ask you if you can. You just have to do it. If you couldn't do it, I wouldn't have asked you. I wouldn't ask you to do something you couldn't do. Mommy already knows you can do it. That's why I told you to do it. You don't know you can do it. I know you can do it. I will not set you up for failure. You're mine. You're my child. You belong to me. I want you to succeed. I ain't setting up my child for failure. So why would God? God knows what we can do. He knows what we can handle. When he says do it, it's because we're already equipped. We already have what it takes to do it. We're just scared. We just don't know that we can do it. My child will watch me and be like, I can't do it. And I'm like, how can you not see what I can see? I know that you can do it. That's why I told you, just do it. And when she does it, she has such a sense of accomplishment, like, I did it, Mommy. And I'm like, I knew you could. I know you did. I know you did it. And so now I'm just trying to remember that it's not up to me. It's not up to me on whether or not I show up. I have to show up. I have to come in here, even if I feel like it's awkward. Everybody's going to talk about how I look. Everybody's going to talk about how I'm wearing the same clothes over and over. Everybody's going to see that I'm obese. All the people, and I'm so scared that people who I know actually find my channel and actually watch these videos because it's just so embarrassing to me. And I had to get over that. I just had to get over it. At this point, I'm like, they say you just have to post. At this point, if you die today, you don't want to die with all the things that God put in you and that you just never executed, because Judgment Day is coming and he will call you and ask you, what have you done with the gifts I gave you? What have you done to help the kingdom? What have you done? And I don't want to say, well, I taught and I wished and I was going to. No, now I just want to show up. If I don't like how I look, I have to do something about it, okay? I can't say that as a reason I'm not showing up. If I don't like where I'm at in life, I have to do something about it. I can't keep using that as a reason to disobey God. There's never an excuse to disobey God. There's never a good reason to disobey God. There is never, ever a good reason to disobey God. So when He calls you, when He calls us, when He's calling me, I have to show up. He told me to come and make the video, and I'm making the video. He told me post a couple of times a day, and I will show you what I can do. I will post a couple of times a day. I'm not sure how. Actually, I do know how. I talk a lot. I can post a couple of videos. But it's awkward. It's hard. It's hard to really show up. My internet is slow. It almost takes me 10 hours to upload a video. It's ridiculous. But I'm showing up. I'm filming, I'm doing what I have to do, and God will do what He has promised you. Whatever God has placed in you, don't be scared to do it. Actually, be scared to not do it, because that's where the danger lies. Be scared to disobey. Be scared to not do what God has called you to do, because you were created for that specific things. And maybe you were born for such a time as this. And so, don't wait. If God is calling you to a certain ministry, to a certain business, if God is even telling you to go say, sorry to that one person, whatever God is telling you to do, don't be ashamed and don't be scared to do it. I feel so awkward and so embarrassed when I have to post a video because I'm just so embarrassed with where I am in my life. But at this point, you know what? I'll take the embarrassment over wronging God and doing the wrong thing. So I really hope you guys